Assembly of the Marsh, X, 1 and a blue for an uncommon sorcery with you may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of the first upkeep, create a broken token, then shuffle Assembly of the Marsh.
It's a 1/1, blue and green Tiefling creature token with when this enters the battlefield, you may put target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library.
And create X broken tokens. Augur Harpy, 2 and a blue for a common creature, Harpy Wizard, 2/2, with flying. Emboldened, sacrifice Augur Harpy, return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Activate only if you are the monarch. Cold-Fisted Furball, 2 blue for a common snow creature, Bear Shaman, 1/3, with landfall. If you had a land enter the battlefield under your control this turn, Cold-Fisted Furball enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. As long as Cold-Fisted Furball has a +1/+1 counter on it, it is hexproof. Construct the Machine, 3 and 2 blue for an uncommon sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Search your library for a permanent card that shares a card type with the permanent sacrifice this way and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Consume Magic, 2 and 2 blue for a common instant. Counter target spell. Proliferate. Choose any number of permanents and or players with counters on them, then give each another counter of each kind already there. Desire of the Blood Queen, 2 and 2 blue for a rare instant with you may cast this card from your graveyard if you have lost life this turn. Damage causes loss of life. Counter target spell. Then if a creature spell was countered this way, create a Dark Fallen token. It's a 1/1 Black Elf Vampire creature token with lifelink. Dirgemire, 3 and 2 blue for a rare legendary creature, Fungus Giant, 5/4. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a spore counter on Dirgemire. Pay 1, remove a spore counter from Dirgemire, create a 1/1 green fungus creature token. Whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, if Dirgemire is on the battlefield or in your graveyard, create a 1/1 green fungus creature token. Dismal Failure, 2 and 2 blue for a common instant. Counter target spell. Its controller discards a card. Elder Brownpaw, 4 and 2 blue for a rare legendary creature, Bear Shaman, 4/4, with flash. You may cast this spell anytime you could cast an instant. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Frostfur Furball, 1 and a blue for a common snow creature, Bear Shaman, 2/2, with landfall. When Frostfur Furball enters the battlefield, if you had a land enter the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card. Gnaws, 1 and 2 blue for an uncommon legendary creature, Fish Beast, 5/5, with Island Walk. When you don't control an island, sacrifice Gnaws. Dununt, Dununt. Harpy's Treasure, 2 and 2 blue for a rare sorcery. Emboldened, as long as you are the monarch, this spell can't be countered. Exchange control of target artifact or creature and another target permanent that shares one of those types with it. This effect lasts indefinitely. Into a Dream, 1 and a blue for a common instant with exile target spell and put a plot counter on it with you may cast this from exile without paying its mana cost by discarding 2 cards that share a color with it. Crocal Mage, 1 and a blue for an uncommon creature, Tiefling Wizard, 1/1, with Cephalalgia. If this creature would deal damage to a player, instead that player mills that many cards. Then put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When Crocal Mage dies, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand with a mana value equal to or less than Crocal Mage's power. Long-term plans, 2 and a blue for an uncommon instant. Search your library for a card, shuffle, and put the card third from the top. Peek into the Grave, 1 and a blue for an uncommon instant. You may cast this card from your graveyard if you have lost life this turn. Damage causes loss of life. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put any number of those cards into your graveyard and the rest on top of your library. You may shuffle. Presence of the Lich King, 4 and 2 blue for a mythic rare legendary snow enchantment. If Presence of the Lich King would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. You may cast creature spells from your graveyard. Not even in death. There is no escape. Scorn, 3 and 2 blue for a legendary creature, Skeleton Spirit, 4/4, with flying whenever a phylactery counter is put on a land you control. If Scorn is in your graveyard, target player draws a card. When Scorn is put into a graveyard from anywhere, put a phylactery counter on target land you control. Sighing the Blood, 2 and a blue for a common sorcery. You may cast this card from your graveyard if you have lost life this turn. Damage causes loss of life. Draw a card, then create a Dark Fallen token. It's a 1/1 Black Elf Vampire creature token with lifelink. Shamanistic Command, 3 and a blue for a common sorcery with choose a creature you control. Target player draws a number of cards equal to its power. Spell Render, 2 and a blue for a common instant with counter target non-creature spell. Its controller mills 5 cards. Sprouting, 1 blue for a common enchantment, aura with enchant permanent. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a spore counter on Sprouting. Pay 1, remove a spore counter from Sprouting, create a 1/1 green fungus creature token. Squelching Shriek, 1 and a blue for an uncommon instant. Emboldened, counter target activated or triggered ability. Then if you are the monarch, draw a card. Mana abilities can't be targeted. Swoop Down, 2 for a blue for a common instant. Emboldened, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Then if you are the monarch, that player puts 2 cards from their hand on top of their library. Traumatizing Memories, 2 and 2 blue for a common sorcery. You may cast this card from your graveyard if you have lost life this turn. Damage causes loss of life. Target player mills 10 cards. Turn into a puppet, 3 and 2 blue for a rare enchantment, aura with enchant creature. You control enchanted creature. Enchanted creature has Cephalalgia. If it would deal damage to a player, instead that player mills that many cards. Then put a +1/+1 counter on it.